Hello everyone, welcome to Knowledge Valley. My name is Why So Serious. Today's topics of discussion are, in fact, there is only one very important topic today in the newspaper, The Hindu, and other topics related to the French church attacks and related to the monsoon, scientific prediction of monsoon. So they do not contain a lot of content for our exam. Um, So hence urban flooding was a long editorial. We'll be discussing this editorial in very detail today. And also urban flooding is very important for us because Mumbai is one of the very prominent examples of facing urban floods every year and multiple floods every year. So therefore it is very important for us, especially if we can be asked such questions in interview round about the urban flood issue in Mumbai. So hence we should know this problem in detail. And also this editorial is really important because it has provided some really good solutions. So let us begin. Urban flooding. First, we need to know that why are we talking about urban flooding. So the introduction talks about the current context, which is nothing but Hyderabad faced is has been facing or recently faced the worst one of the worst floods ever, and more than 15 people have died, and this is one of the disasters. Although people and more often it is blamed over the unpredictable monsoon and torrential rains, but also that is not entirely to be blamed, because the main problem, this is therefore known as urban flooding, because of the urban infrastructure the flooding has been taking place, and therefore this is not completely a natural disaster, but also it's a man-made anthropogenic disaster. And also it's not Hyderabad, is not the only urban city which has been facing it. Mumbai, Chennai we have many such innumerable examples of urban floods in India. So now the good part about this editorial is it discusses most of the issues and also gives some really good solutions. And one of the very important solutions it gives is about sponge cities. So we need to know about this concept really well. First, we need to understand what are the issues and what are its subsequent solutions. So the first issue is inability to manage the city's drainage systems. What happens is the author says here that, and the author itself is an urbanist here. He has expertise in urban planning, so the issues and solutions are really in detail. First, he says that there is inability to manage the city's drainage system, not discharging water in time. What he says is that in our drainage, the untreated water in our drainage system, what we do is we do not discharge it in the open seas, um, on the right in the right durations. And what happens is the drainage system is already filled with untreated water, and when the flooding takes place or torrential rainfall, the water gets filled, and also it starts spreading everywhere, and we know the problem of leptospirosis disease that spreads a lot in during the urban floodings in Mumbai. So the solution here is discharging right amount of water at correct intervals to avoid clogging and flooding. And this water is mostly the untreated water which is present in the drainage or the sewage system. Now, second issue is century-old drainage systems, especially here in the example of Hyderabad. The drainage system is really outdated, so it is not up to the mark. Also, he also has observed that the full-fledged drainage system is only present in 20% or the only the core area of the city, because initially the population used to reside there, but then with urbanization, with time passing, the population multiplied at an exponential rate, and they started residing in at those places also where there is no drainage system whatsoever. So this is very alarming and something which shouldn't have been neglected so far. So what we need to do here is increase the coverage of drainage system and better planning. What we need to do is already the author says that the drainage system is not present in all the places, so we need to increase the coverage or the spread of drainage systems, because people have now not only in main Hyderabad but also in the peri-urban areas. So we need to ensure that drainage system is present in the peri-urban areas as well, and also the existing drainage systems, they need to be repaired, and they need to their capacity needs to be strengthened. Now next problem is, or the issue is, communities are left out. What happens is, during such anthropogenic disasters and mostly during urban floods, it is always a war between private property versus public property, that this is government space, this is private space, you cannot build something here. And then individual conduct versus faceless government's actions. So people say that citizens are to be blamed, their behavior is to be blamed for urban flooding or any urban disaster or any disaster for that matter. Some people blame the government's actions, that they have been inadequate or improper actions. So, what really needs to be done here is, we need to manage the wetlands, the existing ecological local systems, and the wetlands, involving the local communities, because we need to manage the ecological systems as well as their interests. And they are traditional people, so they know how to better manage such ecological systems, and also their livelihood greatly depends, like the fishermen and all of them. So their livelihood depends upon wetlands. So we need to take their inputs very judiciously. Now, the next issue that we talk about is overburdening state government and municipality. So, mostly we rely on government and municipality to take measures, state government and municipality to take measures and deal with this disasters, the district disaster planning committees, and all of that. But here, what is being suggested is, there needs to be a coordinated approach between state government, municipalities, as well as the civil society organizations. So many NGOs, many civil society groups, they're well versed with many citizen spirited citizens groups, so they are well versed with the problems at the ground, and therefore a coordinated effort is required rather than overburdening and completely relying on one organization. Next is non-permeability of cities. Non-permeability means, permeable, something is called permeable when water can easily pass through it, and non-permeable is something water cannot easily pass through it, which means it is, for example, our plastic bottles, they're non-permeable. We never see that water is passing through plastic. But if we see our cloth, any kind of cloth, water passes through it, right? So cloth can be considered as a permeable object, and plastic is an non-permeable object. Non-permeability of cities here means that whatever rainfall occurs, it doesn't go below the ground. It basically runs off and it gets mixed into the in the open seas and oceans, and hence it is no more usable for the population. So here a very innovative solution here given is sponge cities. We need to develop our cities into sponge cities. The concept of sponge cities. First, we will begin with the mechanism first. What sponge cities are? Sponge we know, right? Uh, So we know about sponge cities. First, we need to understand the mechanism. What happens is, when torrential rainfall or rainfall occurs in the cities, in these kind of cities, we can absorb the rainwater. If we make sponge cities, the rainfall will be easily absorbed by the cities, and then they can pass through the soil and naturally filtered by soil, because there are organic elements, and there are big boulders and small stones and various kinds of minerals. So the water will be naturally filtered by the soil, then it will reach the urban aquifers, and the water present in this aquifers will naturally recharge the wells in the urban areas, and we can simply make use of the water in these from these wells, treat it if necessary, and then we can supply it to households, or for that matter industries and factories as well. Its benefits can be delivered under, uh, so we have existing city planning and urban development schemes like Amrut, Hriday, Smart Cities Mission. So we can create spawn cities, and their added advantages and benefits can be incorporated or implied through urban development schemes like Hriday, Amrut, and Smart Cities Mission. Now, what are the advantages of spawn cities? Building spawn cities is, it will mitigate flood risk, very obviously. Then water security. See, these waters, we see, how the water which in non-permeable cities used to run off to the seas and became non-usable, how this rainfall now through sponge cities can be used by the local population, or by industries. Then support for urban ecosystems. Of course, if we have good water availability, good local ecological systems will develop eventually, due to availability of water. Then biodiversity, of course, we'll have wetlands, and we'll have wells, we'll have ponds. So we know, example, migratory birds, various migratory birds will be attracted to such places, and we know that water is directly impacts the nature of biodiversity in any region. Then cultural and recreational opportunity. See, if biodiversity increases, urban ecosystems get better, migratory birds begin coming. So then we these can be developed as some kind of protected areas or some kind of parks for recreations. Then wetland conservation, of course, especially the shallow ends, which are usually encroached. So rather being encroached and being used for economic purposes, these shallow ends can be used in ecological revival. Now, next issue is improper watershed management. What happens is, we do not give due focus to natural boundaries or national natural watersheds that are present. We rather, divide any place into electoral wards. This is ward R, R East, R West. We know such wards, right? Rather than electorally dividing the wards or creating boundaries, consider as if there's a stream passing through. So the places divided by the stream can be separated into different areas, rather than electorally creating boundaries. Then terrain alteration. We know how terrain is altered, how lakes are filled with material, and over them in the wetlands material is being filled, and over that buildings are being created. We know many examples in Kerala where such projects have been built, and they have uh, later been demolished because of their illegal nature. So what the writer is suggesting is, we need to regulate, or in fact also ban such kind of alterations. Then impervious non-porous materials. This is the issue. What happens is, when we are making any kind of infrastructure in urban cities, we make use of non-porous or impervious city materials. For example, cement or hard rocks, through which water cannot percolate or cannot pass through. Uh, so that again leads to runoff of water and getting mixed into untreated water or seas and oceans. So what we can do is make use of porous materials which have the ability to for the water to permeate or pass through. And some technologies named here is bioswales, green roofs, rainwater harvesting. So through these we can these are examples of porous materials, and we can judiciously make use of uh, rainwater. And lastly, of course, this comes everywhere, blame game. And therefore blame game between different authorities, different stakeholders. So multi-stakeholder and coordinated approach, as we discussed earlier, needs to be followed. And therefore a small way forward that we can suggest, or we can expect an optimistic future way forward, so mostly will include the solutions present here. But then an optimistic conclusion we can give here is that we can always aim for or target resilient and sustainable cities. And also, this important line mentioned in the article is we need to learn to live with the nature. So we shouldn't be at loggerheads with the nature and uh, try to eliminate the nature's elements. We should learn to live with the nature, regulate human conduct accordingly with the help of state and states policies, and strategically design before building. So rather than just building an unplanned uh, urbanization, what is required is strategic designing and then getting to building infrastructure. So this was all about urban flooding. And lastly, I would want to let you all know that the art and science of asking questions is the source of all knowledge. Thank you.